Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Havlicek Stole the Pod. I'm Daniel Donabedian, and I'm joined today by Dr. Justin Quinn as always. Alex is not in, but how are you doing, Justin?
A little jealous of Alex. I know that he's busy getting ready for a massive Thanksgiving feast, which down here it's going to be Thursday. That's the day we call it down here in Mexico, or Jueves, if I'm being completely accurate. And I'm jealous of you too, and all you people listening who are going to have yummy Turkey Day feasts. I don't eat the turkey, but I do remember it was tasty when I wasn't a vegetarian. And all the sides, I missed the crap out of them. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to that. Going to be having it on the Cape because that's where my family's from,
Mm.
or my mom's from. So that should be good. We've never actually had it there. We've only done it in New Hampshire usually, but it's going to be good food regardless. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But before we get to Thanksgiving, we still got some stuff to talk about, especially with the Celtics because they play Wednesday. And we got to talk about what's happened beforehand. So in this episode, we're going to cover a win, a loss, and the schedule ahead. But then we'll circle back to what we were talking about before, Thanksgiving, and what we're most thankful for on this special holiday pod. But first off, let's start with that win I mentioned, or sorry, that loss I mentioned. The Celtics played the Nets on Friday night. It was a cup game. They fell 113 to 105. This one was a pretty big. I want to say upset. It's kind of harder with not this team. Like last year, this would have been a huge upset, but it's still an upset. The Celtics were definitely favored at home. This is a team they just beat, but Michael Porter Jr. went crazy in the fourth quarter. I think he had like 17 points. He was just looking unguardable. And the Celtics were a little lackluster. Jaylen Brown even said it after the game. He said, like this effort wasn't enough. You gotta come ready to play or don't come at all. This is definitely calling out his team as a good leader should do. What were your thoughts on the kind of surprising loss, Justin?
Uh, I remember posting during the game that it was one of the worst defensive efforts I can recall, and I can recall a lot of bad Celtics defensive efforts, so that's pretty bad. Mostly in the second half, but still pretty bad all around. And honestly, it's as weird as the next game that we're going to talk about, in that I did not expect that level of playmaking from the Nets. Jordy Fernandez had them doing this weird kind of like double handoff thing they were using to lethal efficiency. I hope they really studied the crap out of that because that seems like a fun thing to do for a team that is maybe not the most talented but has plenty of athleticism as that team does. But besides that, I don't know if there was anything else to take from that game other than they just didn't show up to play as younger teams sometimes do, and it really burned them. I mean, I guess we could. There's been some criticism of Derek White and to a lesser extent Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser in recent games, particularly that last game for Derek White. What are your thoughts on that narrative of he needs to do more? I mean, he does, but I mean, it's not like I think he's trying, right?
Yeah, Derek's been doing a lot on the defensive end, I think, lately.
Exactly.
Offense, he's definitely been lacking a bit. I mean, his three hasn't been hitting as well. I think he's slowly starting to get there a bit, and I'm pretty confident he will come back. I mean, we've seen what he can do these past few years in Boston. We know what he's capable of, but it does stink when like this team needs him. They just simply need him. I mean, Jaylen Brown is doing so much, and then they just have some decently talented guys around him, but it's not quite enough if Pritchard and Derek White aren't on. But yeah, just back to the defensive effort you're talking about. Giving up 40 to this Nets team in the second quarter is pretty rough. They just like don't have a lot of talent, like you said. But Jordy Fernandez is a pretty like great coach. I mean, I think if the Nets can take anything away from their recent rebuild, he seems like the guy to have at the helm. I don't know how those draft picks are gonna turn out. I guess we'll have to see. Michael Porter Jr. I feel like that's just like a fill-in job for him with the Nets right now. I don't know if he really has any future there, but they play hard for him. Like the Nets looked motivated for a team with two wins previously. Like they played hard at TD Garden. and it got really loud in the fourth quarter, loudest I've heard it all year so far. But ultimately, that comeback fell short. And credit where credit's due, Michael Porter Jr. was good, and Jordy Fernandez had them ready, and the Celtics just didn't give a full 48 minutes of effort. But they bounced back. Were you going to say anything else on that, Justin?
No, I was actually just going to say, like, thinking about the fact that they went 500 over those two games, like, if we flipped the team that they beat versus the team they lost to, would we even, like, be thinking about this particularly more than just like, oh, that's exactly what we expected to happen? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on that. Like, if they just came out and beat them again and then lost to the Magic, I think a lot of fans wouldn't have had as much of a reaction. But I mean, overall, like we've kind of said, this team can't really afford to underestimate any opponent at this rate. So even dropping that game, it's those are no longer guaranteed. It's just what it's like for the Celtics right now. But like you were saying, they did end up bouncing back against the Magic. But it is worth noting, no Boncaro, no Suggs, they were hurt. Um, no Batazde. I think I'm no Wendell Moore, and Mo Wagner is still not healthy. So that's pretty much every main player for the Magic outside of Franz Wagner. Granted, the Celtics are also not completely healthy, but they still managed to find a way to win at home. Much better effort, but the offense honestly just looked incredible that night. Like the Magic were down some guys, like I said, so their defense is gonna
For
have
some
some
of the
gaps.
game, the offense looked incredible. The
Yeah,
first
yeah,
half,
that's a good
yeah,
point. First half,
it
they
was
were just
historic, literally historic in the first half, and like
Mhm.
almost his on. I don't know what to say. Like ahistoric is not the word I'm looking for. It was almost infamous. That's the word I'm looking for in the
Yeah,
second
yeah.
half.
Because the first half, I believe, I was looking at the numbers, they were 3 points away from their all-time first half scoring record. So they almost hit that. They dropped 80. But yeah, like you're referencing, Justin, the fourth quarter, the Magic come roaring back. Jet Howard drops 30. It's a career high for him. Noah Penda, a guy probably not a lot of people know, was also having a great final quarter. And they made things a little scary for the Celtics, but like we've seen a lot this year, Jaylen Brown had some huge buckets in the fourth. I think he had 13 of his 35 points in the fourth quarter. He's just been that reliable go-to guy that we kind of figured he'd be, and he's delivered on that. And he saved the Celtics from a pretty embarrassing loss, what that could have been. But yeah, just good to see Sam Hauser shooting it better. Pritchard and Derek White had some pretty big shots too. I don't think I have to look at the numbers exactly. I don't think White is quite himself with his shooting still, but
But he's been
definitely,
fine, honestly. Like he had I think like 3 blocks and 2 steals in the last
yeah.
game. Like he's definitely putting in more than enough work on the defensive end to make up for it. And
Oh yeah,
he
he's
is
five
just
for 11.
yeah, he's too good of a shooter to not have the kind of impact we expect from him. Never mind what people were projecting.
Yeah, and the Celtics shot 60%. I just looked, so to lose that kind of game where you're shooting it that well would have been really tough. But they managed to hold on against the team on the second night of the back-to-back, and they were very injured. But hey, this is the NBA. You take those wins, and like we just said with the Nets, you can't underestimate any opponent. Doesn't matter when. But yeah, now unfortunately, another thing to mention in that first quarter, Nemias Keita hurt his ankle, kind of hobbled off to the sideline, went to the locker room. Now we know he will be out for their next game tomorrow against the Pistons. So that's some pretty big news for the Celtics, who have had the luxury of no injuries besides Jason Tatum this season. But they're obviously going to have to try to make do without Keita for a pretty tough schedule that's coming up because, like I said, they have the
Well,
Pistons.
we don't know how long he's going to be out for, and considering he did turn his ankle, even if it was not a particularly bad turn, I would set him versus the Pistons as well because
Yeah,
he is not enough to save us against the Pistons. It's almost a scheduled loss. Like there is always a chance that like they could shoot their way out of it, but Yeah, like I would have probably considered just like playing him, normal minutes anyway, even if he was completely healthy.
Mhm.
Might as well just let him rest and heal up for the rest of the stretch. That, as you suggested, is not exactly the easiest part of Boston season ahead.
No, maybe the hardest. I mean, they got the Pistons who've won 13 in a row. If they beat the Celtics, it's going to be their best winning streak of all time, which is pretty insane when you think of 2 seasons ago when they were on the worst streak of all time and they actually almost beat the Celtics, but quite a reversal from then. Then Boston travels to Minnesota on Saturday. Really tough back to back on Sunday with the Cavs, both on the road. Then they come back in December to host the Knicks, another tough one. Then thankfully they get somewhat of a reprieve traveling to DC for the Wizards. And then they host the Lakers on the 5th, which will probably be a pretty talked about game since Marcus Smart will potentially be having his homecoming at TD Garden in purple and gold, which will draw a lot of
I
ire.
don't know how I'm going to deal
It,
with that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not the most fun thought to have, but what do you think about this gauntlet, Justin? Like, what are your predictions for the Celtics here? And not to mention the last game there, you could throw in the Raptors, who have also been red hot. They played them after the Lakers. That's another game where you might have looked at the season before or the schedule beforehand and been like, oh, but now it's just another tough game, part of that tough gauntlet.
Yeah, so the Raptors, and this will be relevant, I think, in the near term future, considering we are also playing this team. But they have beaten a team many people predicted to be at the top of the East this season 3 times already this season. That is the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is
Mhm.
insane to me. Like, the Raptors look good, but it's just I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. So they definitely should be included as not a tanking team at any rate. They are one of the top teams in the
Yeah.
East right now, even though we really mostly. I mean, I didn't see that coming. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but no,
No,
I
I did.
think over that schedule, I think Boston will be lucky to come out with a 4-5 record, considering Keita's availability. If he is more available, like I was hinting, might be the case. I don't think it's going to happen, but like if he was able to bounce back after a game, maybe they could break 500 if they were lucky. But I think it's probably more likely we're going to see them come out of this three and 6 most likely.
Yeah, I think I would share that. I mean, share that opinion. It's tough to say with Kada kind of up in the air, but I will say at practice, Sam Hauser and Derek White spoke, and it didn't sound too optimistic. Like they knew he wasn't gonna play on tomorrow against the Pistons, and the Celtics listed him as out, not questionable, just straight up out.
Yeah. So
Granted,
he's
he
not.
didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know how serious it is, but those things kind of imply maybe that this isn't just a 1 game thing. But like you said, Justin, I mean, they're probably gonna take it careful with him. They're gonna be careful, and they played somewhat recently, so I don't think he was ever really gonna play this game against the Pistons. But if he's out for 2 to 3 games, it's going to be rough because their net ratings just been so much better with him on the court. And the backup bigs, like we talked about all offseason, still a question mark. Hopefully, somebody like Luca Garza can stand out, or maybe Josh Minot can do a little more work at the 5. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough against these teams, and I think 3-6 is probably more realistic.
If that happens and the Celtics find themselves 3 games under, I think I did that math right, 500, I wouldn't freak out too much because they did, after all, start this season 3 games under 500
Mhm.
and managed to bounce back quite well. And the schedule does ease up until February after that. I mean, I think immediately after that stretch, there's a pair of back to back games against the Pacers, which, no offense to the
Mhm.
Pacers, but they are doing very, very poorly this season. And the Celtics should be able to beat them regardless. Like they are, shall we say, also challenged in the front court this season, though they might have a little bit more stability in that regard, but nobody's scary that they can't find ways to scheme.
Yeah, and by a lot of metrics, in the offseason, people said the Celtics had technically the easiest strength of schedule. And yeah, if you look at what you're referencing, Justin, they got those 2 games of the Pacers, the Blazers who are doing better, the Jazz who are still all right, then the Kings, the Clippers, those are all winnable games even for this team. I think they could maybe make up some of the lost ground that might happen in this next tough stretch. But I guess we'll see. As we've seen with this team, it's kind of hard to predict. They're a bit up and down, so I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen, especially with the questionable health of Kada. But still, there's definitely a lot of basketball to be played no matter what. Um, However, there is somebody who won't be playing much more basketball, and that is Chris Paul. He officially announced his retirement. If you were paying attention, he kind of soft launched his retirement in the summer. I don't. I think he was
He
speaking
he
to
was
Jamel.
hinting that it might be the
Yeah,
end. Yeah.
he said it was like he only had like 1 year left max. So do the math. He's pretty much retiring. But now Chris Paul made it official. Kind of unfortunate that he officially announced it now after he already had his last game at TD Garden because that could have added some extra interest. But he didn't even play. So that's kind of rough for him that it it's going out on his own terms still, but he's not getting many minutes. I think he played a little recently, but still, I don't know how consistent that's going to be. But all in all, legendary career. Nobody can deny that.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody looked at. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of people offer some apologies for where the Clippers are this season. I'm just like, this is just one person on the Clippers, right? Who is dealing with Father Time, and it sucks for the Clippers because now they're going to need to. I guess he wasn't part of the future anyway, but yeah, I don't know. He's not on a good team. I hope he gets a good retirement tour, as it were. It's not going to be competing for anything, which isn't really fair considering that the poor guy never had a chance to really win a title. But some guys never do, and he's a lock for the Hall of Fame with that record. I mean, he's got like 11 All
Mhm.
NBAs or something like that.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be remembered just fine without any rings. But yeah, it's going to be a very different league without him.
Yeah, I thought JJ Redick had an interesting quote about him recently when they were talking to him about his retirement. He said, Chris Paul never won a championship, but he is like the ultimate winner. And that there's plenty of guys who do win championships who aren't true winners, which I thought was an interesting comment. I don't know who he's kind
Hmm.
of shading there, but definitely, uh,
KD maybe.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, JJ Redick did play with Chris Paul, so there's going to be some bias there, but I don't know who he could be referencing there exactly. But congrats to Chris Paul, anyways. Great career, and like Justin said, I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer. There's absolute no doubt of that. Um, then to some other news involving Netflix. I don't think Chris Paul was ever featured on this show, but there were certainly other stars, such as Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. And I'm talking about Starting Five on Netflix. I don't know how many of our listeners have watched that, but maybe not enough because it was just announced that it was canceled after 2 seasons. And this last season had Harden, Jalen Brown, Kevin Durant,
Pretty interesting collection,
SGA,
yeah.
yeah, Halliburton. It really worked out for them in terms of the cast, but I guess it wasn't enough. I mean, we talked about this a little off the record, but I just think the show probably didn't appeal enough to the non basketball, non NBA fan. Because I know the F1 show, I think it was the Drive to Survive, which sort of sparked these kinds of shows where it's like looking at the athletes in the sport and trying to advertise it to other fans. The F1 show did a pretty good job of that to the American market that's not as familiar. But this NBA one Starting Five, I don't know if they quite did as good of a job. I
It
mean,
was for
I personally
fans
liked it.
or
Yeah.
existing fans. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was good and entertaining if you already like those people. If you don't, it just seems kind of like a weird soap opera with some sports involved, and like
Mhm.
it didn't grab civilians or whatever you want to call it. I don't like casual fans or even non-fans, but like if you're going to use Netflix as your platform to put something like that, I would think you would want to build something like that into it, at least for like some of the content.
Yeah. It's like if you were a even like a decently in tune Celtics fan and you're following along with the Jalen Brown stuff, I feel like you're gonna know most of that. Like there
Yeah,
wasn't
that
anything
too.
crazy that I was like, oh wow. I will say some of the behind the scenes stuff with SGA and Halliburton, especially Halliburton's injury, it was heartbreaking, but that was pretty good television, if you want to call it that. I thought that was good, but I mean, I guess it just wasn't enough for viewers, or maybe Netflix wasn't making enough money, so they just cut it. That's probably a
That's
bigger
my
part of it.
guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we know what it's like for those companies. But now we're going to transition into the steal. But today we don't have a guest. However, we might have one last week. So TBD on that. Um, and now we're actually going to talk about something very relevant, what we're thankful for, because Thanksgiving is almost here. And we're going to start with what we're thankful for in life beyond sports, because obviously this is a Celtics podcast. We talk about the NBA. But I think it's always good to sort of ground yourself and talk about non sports related things. So I guess we could start with you, Justin, and maybe
Sure.
what you're thankful for away from basketball.
So, full disclosure, I have not thought about any of this stuff in advance, so it's going to be off the cuff entirely. In terms of non-basketball things that I'm thankful for kindness because the world needs more of it right now, and just like seeing people like the move for Heather for the Heather Walker Foundation, like seeing people like work so hard to help support that organization. I'm bringing it back to sports here by mistake, but just one of the first things that came to mind. I used to do charity work when I lived in the States. I don't do quite as much here just because there aren't as many opportunities for me. um, where I would do this stuff for what is that cancer charity called? Relay for Life. Oh my god, totally blanking on it.
Oh, okay.
Like stuff, yeah, stuff like that. I think is really important to build community, but like also just like doing nice things for people in your day to day existence without necessarily expecting anything back, or even necessarily them knowing that it was you doing it. Just like the world needs more of that stuff. I mean, we see like I can't even look at the news anymore, and I'm a news addict. The world is filled with so much strife, anger, disease, war, all the fun stuff. I think that could use a little more kindness, so I'm thankful for that when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll ditto that. We definitely need more of that, especially today. Um, and I'll just say, like, probably a cliche answer, but family, I mean, just true. Just having my support system, my brother, sister, my parents, my girlfriend, just having that there for me and knowing around the holiday time I can be with them and kind of decompress because as you know, Justin, this season is, or just any season is a lot. There's just a lot going on. It's a busy time. So it's always going to be nice to sort of come back to family and unwind a bit and just have them in your corner no matter what.
It's also good to be thankful for family for putting up with our asses for doing this so goddamn much because Lord knows we do. So I'm thankful for that as well.
That's true. Yeah, I've kind of converted my girlfriend into a Celtics fan, so that sort of helps. There's less questions about like why I'm just watching the team and doing all this extra work for around the Celtics, but that's just part of the job. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, now we can talk about something we're thankful for in the NBA. We'll always switch it back to sports. So, if you had any thoughts on that, Justin?
I'm thankful for Chris Paul, and I'm thankful for all the people who have contributed to winning in the NBA, whether they have won a ring or not, whether they are playing for or ever played for or will ever play for a team that I am into. Because let's face it, without the opposition, the team that you root for, the team that you cover, however you engage with this league, it'd be a lot more boring. So I'm thankful that the NBA is a thing and that it is so damn entertaining.
Yeah, and for my basketball related answer, I guess I'll say I should be thankful for, or definitely fans should be thankful for the Celtics culture. Because in a down year like this, where your best player's hurt, you're getting another injury to your new starter, you're 9-8, it'd be pretty easy to just kind of go into your shell and just think about the tanking or whatever, just kind of fast forward through the season mentally. But the Celtics culture is like so strong that I don't think that will happen. And Joe Mazzulla just embraces that, and he embraces the past Celtics, and he brings them back, and he tries to integrate all that. And I think that helps create this pretty strong identity that can kind of withstand stuff like this down year. And they have all that history to rely on, which helps. And it even rubs off on the new guys like Josh Minot, Luka Garza. These are guys who obviously know about the Celtics beforehand, but now they're seeing it firsthand and they're kind of getting integrated into that. And I think it's helping them. And of course, is that always going to lead to wins? Not necessarily. But the Celtics are going to play hard. I mean, I would say like 90% of the season so far. They've really outworked their opponents. Some of that time in the Nets game, like we were talking about, in that loss to them, I think they were probably losing the effort battle. Maybe in the some of the final stretch against the Magic, I guess you could say. But for the most part, they've worked harder than their opponent. I think that just all goes back to the culture that was there before them and will be there after them. So I think Celtics fans should definitely be thankful for that. And hopefully their star power, Tatum, will return and that they can have more on court wins, but it might be some time until that happens.
I'll dial in even further and say that I'm thankful for the Celtics organizational, what's the word I'm looking for here? Competence. They have
Mm.
turned organizational competence into a dangerous weapon throughout the course of their history. Part of the reason they were so dominant in the 1960s is they just ran a really tight ship in an era of the NBA where almost nobody ran a tight ship. And that allowed them to identify great players and take middling players and develop them into good players. And that's something that's kind of with, some stretches, particularly when I was in my 20s, but we won't talk about that period, where the Celtics were a really well run team that has produced very entertaining basketball and a lot of titles. So I'm pretty thankful for that.
Yeah, I would echo that too. I mean, I think it's always pretty funny and incredible that of all the teams in the NBA, the Celtics seem the best at keeping things in house. Like a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of the news that comes out, Shams isn't even getting before the Celtics. Like I remember,
Almost
I think it
never.
was
Almost never.
yeah, I think the Tatum surgery announcement and other stuff about his injury that came from the team first. Like that was a statement on their Twitter. There was no Shams. There's no person scooping that. That was just straight from the team. And I think that organization helps, like you said, Justin. And of course, they got Brad Stevens at the helm, which has helped recently and has helped for the past 15 years. If you want to count him coaching too, which I would. So yeah, that does go a long way.
God,
Um,
that's so long. I feel old.
I'm trying to think the exact number, but I mean, it's got to be something like that.
Well, it was
Yeah,
2013, 12 years. Yeah, going on 13.
yeah, wow. I still remember the Butler days, but before we get too sidetracked, I guess I'll circle back to what I was talking about with scooping, reporting, Shams, all that, and speaking about what I'm thankful for and covering the NBA. Uh, I just feel very lucky to do this. I mean, coming out of college, or if you asked me while I was in college, I guess what I would be doing in 5 years, attending Celtics games, writing about the team, I would have never said any of that. I would never thought any of that to be possible. I would not have imagined seeing them win a title in 2024 and covering that and writing about that. I would have never imagined any of that. And I say it every year before the season starts. I thank everybody, and I'm just like, I still can't believe it. And it's true. I don't know when that will change, if I'll get used to it. Maybe not, but I just feel very thankful to be able to go to the TD Garden for pretty much every home game and have a just an entertaining job. I mean, a lot of people around me, I just see the fans going to the game, the kids, they look so excited. And that just grounds me and reminds me like this is like a blessing to be able to do this. Like some people, this is their one game in the whole season. I mean, I used to do that. Like that one game I went to for a season was what I looked forward to, and I was just felt very lucky for that. And now I can do that all the time. I'm just very thankful for that, and I think I always will be.
Yeah, I'll echo that as well. I'm thankful for the league office and all the support that they've given me to be able to cover the NBA from Mexico City, which trust me is more complicated than you. Well, maybe it's not more complicated than you might think. It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, covering the NBA from Mexico City, but I do it. And I'm thankful for the Capitanes. I'm thankful for the Celtics front office and their PR team. They're always very helpful, very
Yeah.
thoughtful, and they've hooked me up with more opportunities than I can count to cover this team. So yeah, I'm thankful for not just this opportunity, but the people who make it possible.
hmm And I guess we can kind of talk about what we're thankful for on the team. I don't know if there's
Sure.
any players you want to highlight, Justin, but there's definitely I have one in mind, but you can go first if you want.
Uh, all of the players, particularly Derek White, but all of the players who have gone through slumps to start this season. And I'm thankful also for the guy who has helped lead them through it, and Jalen Brown, despite a lot of people wondering pretty openly if he was going to be up to the task.
Yep, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, everyone's done a pretty decent job at adjusting to their new roles because I was talking about it with Justin Turpin from WEI. Like, besides maybe Sam Hauser, arguably Derek. No, I'd say Derek too. Everybody's had to adjust to a new role. Like, okay, Sam's coming off the bench and he's still a shooter and he's still providing those points.
But
But
he was
besides
also looked
him,
at to provide more of the offense, and like
yeah,
he kind of struggled a little bit. You saw
yeah,
it, but he's recovered.
yeah, you could even say him, but everybody's just had to adjust. Everybody has a new role, pretty much. I mean, definitely all the new guys are getting minutes for the first time. Definitely Kada. And yeah, Jalen Brown, who I was going to highlight. Like, there were those rumblings you're talking about where some people are like, oh, he's always wanted to be the guy, but can he be? And I mean, through 17 games, he has been the guy, undoubtedly. I think he's not led them in scoring like three times. So 14 out of 17 games is pretty incredible. They have a winning record. Their schedule hasn't been too easy to start. And he's just
It's a,
steadied them.
it's the harder half of their season, I think, up front. It's not a very
Yeah.
hard schedule overall, but yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, in the fourth quarter, he's been there. After the game, he's kind of rallying the team by calling them out. He just seems to have been a good off court and on court leader so far, which, if you've been following the team, isn't that surprising. But still, I think it's pretty incredible to see the dominance he's had. He's just having career highs pretty much across the board. His efficiency has been amazing. And I mean, a fifth All Star nod just seems like a lock if he can stay healthy. Knock on wood about that. But it's just been pretty incredible what he's been able to do early in the season. And keeping that up might be a little difficult just given the minutes, the length of the season. The NBA regular season's tough, but Jalen Brown said he wants to play as much as possible, which is another thing to be thankful for because that is not the norm in the NBA as we've seen recently. A lot of players are out, a lot of stars sitting out for good reasons and maybe load management reasons too. But the Celtics should be thankful that their two best players want to play all the time.
Also thankful for Drew Holiday, Luke Cornett, Kristaps Porzingis, and particularly Al Horford, because we could see very clearly how much they were doing for the Celtics this season compared to
Mhm.
last.
Yeah, and Drew and Luke are having pretty good seasons. I think Porzingis is kind of finding a stride. Al's been hurt, and I think he has sciatica, the stuff that LeBron kind of had. So that's a bit tough.
We're old. It happens.
But hey, I mean, he's had a great career no matter what. And yeah, like you said, they were integral to the Celtics. And I think fans, even no matter how mad they might be at Al at the moment for not staying, I think
I
they'll
don't
get
think they're
over it.
mad. I
Some
don't think
people
they're
are
mad.
yeah, some people are being a little dramatic, I think. It's like I don't know what to compare it to exactly, but I think there's just some drama going on online, which shocker, Twitter being dramatic. That always happens, especially NBA Twitter. But like you said, I think they'll get over it. Um, Anything else to add, just in terms of gratitude, or maybe any Celtics points?
Oh boy. I mean, I'm thankful for all of the guys who are playing for the Celtics who do not get regular minutes, do not have a regular role, which is basically everybody, but particularly
Yeah,
the guys who are really trying to find their footing in the NBA because that is the hardest like moment of your career to deal with that kind of an environment. And I'm even thankful for Joe Mazzulla's shall we say gruff personality. One because it gives us tons of content, but also two because we've seen that he is a very thoughtful person despite his highly competitive nature. That moment of the lowering of the podium, even though it pissed off a lot of the people who were trying to record the event itself, just from the angle it provided them, but the lowering of the podium thing, I thought it was a really good response to not the greatest exchange that he had the game before that, and just like I feel like we're getting to know who Joe Mazzulla is as a person more than more than in any other season because of the dynamics of what his job has become as kind of like a developer as well as a tactician and ego manager, I guess you could say, which
yeah.
are both very hard jobs. Do not think I'm saying that any of those are in any way easier or harder or whatever. They're very
Mhm.
distinct and like certain coaches like Doc Rivers is the best at managing superstars and not everyone can do that. He might not be as good of a tactician as say Joe is, for example, but like they're all important jobs, and I think Joe is showing us that he's a pretty versatile coach in ways that a lot of people openly again wondered if he would be able to. And I think he's acquitting himself quite nicely, and I'm pretty thankful for that as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%, especially about the part you said of him kind of showing more of his true self this season. I would definitely agree with that. I mean, definitely initially when he became the head coach, I think he was a little more guarded, which makes sense given all the
The
drama that happened
context.
that led to that. Yeah, but he's been huge for them, and their ratings, if you look at it, they're still pretty good, better than a team with a 9-8 record. But it's also something to be said that they have a winning record at the moment, and I think if there's anybody who's kind of been a torchbearer for the Celtics culture, it's been him,
Absolutely.
and that's special, and it's even more special that he was a fan of the team. I mean, a Rhode Island native, that they've benefited from that because I think the worst thing that can happen to a team, a staff, like coaches, is becoming apathetic and just kind of succumbing to the doldrum of a long NBA season, especially when the expectations aren't quite as high, like this season for the Celtics. And I have never thought once so far this season, like, oh, they look apathetic. Oh, Joe doesn't care. I've not thought that. And I think that will do them a lot of good this year and in the future because he's got that extension too. But I think if you're ready, Justin, I think we can wrap this one up. And as always, do something to remember and something to forget. I might put the spotlight on you for that first because I'm trying to remember or forget something right now. But I don't know if
It
you
looks
have.
like you already forgot it.
Yeah, I don't know if you have
uh,
something in mind.
yeah, no, I do. It's something that I'm thankful for, and I want to remember to be thankful for. And that's all the people who take the time, not just to listen or watch our show, but to interact with us on social media. You guys have helped keep me sane through some really rough patches in recent years and helped keep me engaged through some really difficult stretches of basketball to talk about both the highs and the lows. I want to remember y'all and want y'all to remember that I remember y'all over these holidays because, sometimes family is genetic or legal, but sometimes family is chosen. And I think a lot of us have chosen the wider Celtics community as a sort of a family in itself that has come together in some very impressive ways in recent years and months that I want to be thankful for every day, not just on Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll say thanks to the viewers, the listeners, everybody who's tuned in, and I mean everybody who comes up to me at games because I've had a few people, and it's just fun interacting in that sphere and watching the team together. Um, but yeah, I guess to something to remember, I'll remember the current streak the Patriots are on. Not
Ooh.
basketball, obviously, but 10 wins in a row. They're 10-2. They got a real shot at the playoffs, maybe even a shot at the first seed. The Pats haven't been this good in 7 years, and even then, I don't think they had this good of a trajectory, record wise at least. But just want to savor that because the other New England sports teams have kind of gone up and down. The Celtics obviously have had the highest peak of late, but the other teams have kind of been So just want to appreciate the current moment we're in because you never know when that's going to happen again in any sport. So you got to be grateful for it now. But
Let me just add too that UConn football is actually not embarrassing, which is probably because I'm paying absolutely no attention to it. And now
what's
that
their
I've said
record?
that, they'll probably. Oh, I
I
think
haven't
10 wins
looked.
is on the table. I think they're somewhere around 8 or 9 wins right now.
Oh,
Seven or
nice.
8 wins. Like I said, I'm not paying attention, but they have a
Yeah,
winning record,
a little.
and I know that, and that's a lot better than UConn football has almost ever done. I think we went to a bowl one season in like the early 2000s, and that's about it.
Oh yeah, they're 9-3. It's pretty good. Unlike BC football, I don't know if you've seen, but they're like 1-10. I think they are quite awful, which I know some listeners out there will be sad about because there isn't much college football in New England. But
That's about it, honestly.
yeah, I think we can wrap this one up. Justin, where can we find your stuff? Obviously here.
Celtics wire, or you found it.
Yeah, similar for me. Celtics Wire or Clutch Points. Just Google my name too if you want. My writing will come up. And check me out at DanielD1214 on Twitter for live updates for games, quotes, videos, all that good stuff from practice and games. But yeah, this has been another episode of Havlicek Stole the Pod, and we are grateful for you. So thank you for listening.
And don't clean your turkeys before you cook them or something.